Well, here we are again, another five chairs. It seems like a long time since the last time we've done one of these. Part of the reason is that I've been away doing tax returns. We've all been busy. COVID has disrupted everybody's life. But we're now here, 2021, and we're on the up. Everything's going to get better from here on in, or at least we certainly hope so. I am delighted to have four of my friends join me again this evening to kick off the year with a casual five chairs catch up and to hear how everybody's getting on, what happened last year, what they're looking forward to, and all that type of stuff. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask each of the guests tonight to introduce themselves. And if it's okay, Jonathan, I will start with you. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan McComb. I'm Managing Director of KMC Wealth Management Limited. We're financial planners. What we do is help people try and make better money choices and achieve their goals.
Very good. Kel?
So I'm Kyle. I own the Big Giraffe. We're a social media marketing agency. So our main aim is just to try and grow people's following online into loyal followings so that they can actually make money from their online activities.
Very good. Guy?
My name is Guy Bucknell. I am a marketing strategist, particularly specializing these days in SMEs and small businesses. I'm also a co-founder of Bizmarang, the networking platform.
Lovely background, Guy, there. Really
glad you like it. Just in the office.
Got that contemporary, cool-looking vibe. Very good, very good. James.
Good evening, Martin. James Perry. I'm going to make this really short and sweet. I'm a carer, I'm a coach, I'm an academic, and I'm an adventurer. So that's me.
That's a new one added to the end, James.
What was it, the adventurer?
Yes. And I know where it's coming from, and we'll maybe get to touch on that later on. For those of you who may not know me, I've put up a hand on my picture. I don't know how to get it down, but I am Martin James, or Martin, I don't even know my name. My goodness, Martin Gilchrist from Gilchrist & Co. Chartered Accountants. I'm out of practice stuff, but don't be worrying. You'll be hearing that a lot more during the year and as we go forward. The first question, so what actually happens here is we ask five questions. We've already done the first one, who are we? But the second one is good or bad. Choose one. The biggest impact of 2020 on your business and what did you do about it? So good or bad, what was the biggest impact of 2020 on your business? And what did you do about it? And I think we'll do this in reverse order. So, James.
Just to quickly explain what I actually do. I am a coach for accounting professionals. That is either going to be young, up-and-coming, qualifying professionals to coach them through their exams, or whenever they're newly qualified or maybe early into senior management, career development, and coach them through that as well. So, and also I'm a part-time teaching fellow in the University of Ulster. So what was really good, Martin, about 2020 was the proof that I can do everything remotely, and the possibility moving forward of working and traveling at the same time. So that's actually what COVID has done, is to prove that concept works for me.
Brilliant.
So again, quite short, but it was really good in that way.
But it's really good to take a positive out of what for many was an awful year. So very good, James. Guy.
In business terms, I mean, 2020 was an awful year with, tens of thousands of deaths and all that sort of stuff. But I think we all recognize that point, but I do think it needs to be mentioned. The biggest impact, it depends which part of my business you're talking about, but let's stick to Bizmarang for the time being. So Bizmarang was a startup, and it's not that we hit ground to a halt, where we were sort of running ideas of or understanding what we were going to do with it next. And what lockdown one not forced us into it, but it made us recognize that there was an opportunity not an opportunity, there was a real need for our members to prep themselves for what they were going through at the time and what they were going to need and require when they came out of it. I'm very lucky that I have been in and around businesses and startups. I'm major clients as well, but I've done my own startups, and I have been through three big macroeconomic shocks like this before. 9/11, well, actually .com, 9/11, and the banking crisis of 2008. And so I had some experience of what businesses require to get through to the other side. We'll not go into what that is now, but what that allowed us to do was then start instigating a networking and knowledge program for our members, which then actually took everybody within the membership of the organization to the next level. It took us personally as directors to the next level, and it really showed us how we can operate this business and actually make it scalable, very scalable. And that has been a huge opportunity for us, actually. Not that we've made much money. In fact, we haven't made any money because we cancelled our membership fees as soon as people can pay them. But in terms of going forward, huge.
Yeah, I think it has to be said that Bismarang at the start of 2020, in the first lockdown, was one of the most important online resources that I had to go to. It was absolutely fantastic. The amount of work you did, you and Shane, the people that you brought together, and the events you hosted, and there was a big overall. What did you call the big overall event that you had? It was like
the one on June the 25th.
Yeah,
something along how we're going to survive this. Essentially,
yeah.
I can't remember the exact title now.
It was absolutely fantastic. Not only was it great speakers, well put together, well organized, but it was also incredibly personal. You know,
Yeah.
It felt like you were joining like-minded people with the same. The same struggles, the same hopes, the same fears, and really getting to engage. Like, I certainly enjoyed the conversations.
I have never in business when I first started in business in 1993, the end of 1993, I have never in business seen people tell their personal stories like I have in the last year.
Yeah.
And share their personal stories, and as a consequence, being able to for them to get to another place or get to the next stage because they were open and honest and none of this corporate bullshit that they were putting out there. And this is my brand and how it's been. I remember the first networking meetings we were holding in the first week of lockdown, we'd have 30 or 40 people on the call, and 10% of them would be crying because they had literally in 7 days lost their business. And actually what that made the whole thing very, very personal. And so we now have a really tight community of people who are there to help each other out. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And thank you very much for this kind words.
No, and I said because it's true, it was an unprecedented situation, and what you guys did was an unprecedented response. So well done, and all credit to you in relation to that. Kel, do you remember the question?
Yes.
Sorry.
So the one good thing that came out of COVID for my business especially is like people in Northern Ireland kind of realized that they need to go online, especially in the business environment. I tend to find like before this, I think Northern Ireland perhaps were a wee bit behind the times, and people kind of still preferred the face-to-face and, going into actually a brick and mortar store. Whereas now everyone now obviously has to go online. So since the launch, we've pushed I think about 7 or 8 traditional teaching businesses. We've moved them online, scaled them up to multiple figures. So we're getting better at that. So it's something I've always wanted to do, but it's just I had no one really to take the plunge, into doing it. So COVID kind of forced people's hands, and luckily we kind of benefited from that in a way, But at the same time, obviously, there are loads and loads of bad things have happened from COVID. People being locked in the house. Personally, I used to train football 4 times a week, and now you're doing nothing at all, so you're stuck in the house. So, there's a lot of bad things that's happened from it as well. So it's just trying to keep yourself in the right mindset and head space as well. Something that I've tried to change, because at the start, the first lockdown it was great because it was all sunny, but then the second lockdown, weather was crap, you're stuck in the house, all you do is sleep, work. So this lockdown I've tried to get out more. That's why I was a wee bit late today, so I went for a run earlier, so just trying to clear the space and stuff. So that was another bad thing that turned into a good thing, because I've got used to working on my own mindset and stuff.
Very good. You're absolutely right. The change in everybody's environment has had a drastic impact on mindset, and I think we've all had to work at what do we do in order to stay in the right frame of mind? And thanks for bringing it up, Cal. But the thing I really want to touch on, and you know, if you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. But I'm dying to know, what about your TikTok superstar? How's that all going?
Yeah, so that was another
Tell
thing.
us about
So,
what that is, and tell us how it's going.
so the benefit again of not being able to play football meant I had more time in my hands. So I was actually able to get back into social media and do stuff like we fun projects, we side projects. So I started a project with my dog on TikTok just to see how TikTok worked and stuff. And in like the first month, he had 20,000 followers.
What's the dog called?
So, Barnaby. So
what type of dog is it?
He's a wee King Charles. So
yeah,
he's trained sometimes. Sometimes he can be a wee shit, but overall he's all right.
And how many fans does Barnaby have now?
He's still over 20,000. I moved to Instagram to see if I could grow Instagram because I wanted to test different channels to see how he performed, but TikTok was by far the best and easiest. So like one of his videos got liked by 300,000 people, got viewed over 1 million times or something. So
1 million views.
Yeah, like all over.
What does Barnaby have to do to get 1 million views on TikTok?
Well, that one he was just looking really sad because it was his first trip to the vet, so he looked real sad, and everyone seemed to love it.
Wow, where is the world going?
Yeah, and then we like other agencies get in touch to like do projects with them, so they pay us to do wee dances with Barnaby and stuff. So a wee fun project came out. He's finally making us some money. Didn't have to kick him out.
Can I be nosy? How much is 1 million views worth?
1 million.
You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it.
Not that much, to be fair. It's only you only get like £40 a video or something, so it's not as much as it should be.
So it's a bit like Spotify, where an artist can have 1 million plays of their tune and they only get 45p or something.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's a start. It's a start.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Jonathan, I don't know how you're going to follow Barnaby and his 1 million views. What about this year? What has been the biggest impact and what do you do about it?
Probably the biggest impact initially was that we couldn't see anybody face to face. And that's what my business pretty much is seeing people face to face. So that was a massive challenge. That added to the fact that I had to send all my staff home. We had had to send them home to work from home, had no way of knowing how that was going to work. We hadn't got a clue. There was so much stuff that we had to learn about technology, even just in the business, never mind trying to then take that to the outside world and start to speak to people on Zoom or whatever. Meet people like yourself, Martin, who forced me out of my comfort zone online to do things like this. Mm-hmm. But out of that, I think two things have happened. One, we had to we reinvented what we do, and it's a really, we've got a really great platform to move forward from. We've some really good plans for what we want to do, but also as a team, as a business, and with my employees, it's brought us closer together. And I think we're much stronger as a business than what we were before. So, yeah.
You know what?
That's really
We've actually had a couple of clients that have closed down their offices now. It's different if you have a thing where you have to put materials together and people have to be in the same room, but we have quite a few clients where they don't, and they're literally disposing of their offices and they're not planning to go back for the foreseeable future, and it's saving them on rates, it's saving them on all the other costs. Kel, I see you've got your hand up. Do you have a point you want to make there?
I only realized I just signed up to your agency or your whatever it's called last week or 2 weeks ago. Oren signed me up and he was great to go through it all online, so I just wanted to let you know that your staff's doing a good job. So I thought I'd point that out.
Very good.
I seen your name, whenever you asked me, Martin, and you sent everybody through. I thought, I wonder, is that the same guy? So I checked with Oren very quickly.
Yeah.
And confirmed it was. So
it's a small world. It's a small world.
Yeah.
Sorry, so do you finish your point there, Jonathan? It's basically the staff went home and you made it work.
I think you were going to ask something too, were you?
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't want to. If you finish, Jonathan, yeah.
No, okay.
Oh, well, what I was going to say was just funny about how all this sort of working remotely, and one of the things you said brings us all closer. And who would have thought 14 months ago, if you said, actually, because we're all having to work from home, work remotely, and look at each other on these little screens in front of us, that we would be closer. But the funny thing is that we had a virtual assistant join Bizmarang as a member back in, actually, for that big event that you mentioned, Martin, in June, etc. And she got so much out of it that next thing you know, 2 months later, she's training as a circle host, and then she set up the North Down Circle, etc. And then I realized that how we really needed a VA, and she was top of the list, etc. And she is now becoming a small shareholder in Bizmarang. She runs our admin, and I know her as well as I think I know anybody at the moment. She happens to share an office with her husband Bruce, who I have met once because he came for a walk with us, Martin. Okay,
That's right.
But yeah, Sandra's becoming a shareholder in Bizmarang, and I've never met her.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? And I suppose my answer to that question is, and it's just hits on what Guy and what you have said, Jonathan. I went from being a person that was out 3 days a week doing some sort of activity where I was meeting people face to face. Now, the whole lockdown didn't really affect Gilchrist & Co, the practice as in what we do as accountants. We're able to do that all online, no problem. And it's actually much better for our business because people started using tools and resources and uploading documents, and it meant that we didn't have to travel and do collections and all that type of thing. But the social networking, seeing people, shaking hands, drinking coffee, having conversations really hit me. And I suppose in relation to answer the question, what did I do about it? Guy just has touched on it, and James, you've been out for a walk with us. Guy, you've been out for a walk. Kel and Jonathan, you're both going to join us once we get through this last lockdown. I have found that activity in that walking invitation thing that I set up for businesses has been incredible in helping me with mindset, as you said, Kel. Although this is good, talking online and Skype calls and Zoom calls and all the rest, the ability to actually meet people, and I appreciate it was in a restricted way and it was in a lockdown manner and it wasn't in coffee shops, but to meet people out in the fresh air and to stretch your legs and to walk and talk and think and do all this stuff that we did, Guy, I got incredible value out of that. And I just want to thank, as a matter of fact, James and Guy, I want to thank the two of you for taking the time to join me, and anybody else who's watching this has been in any of those walks.
I did one and I was addicted, and you kept saying, oh, you only have to come back every 4 or 5 weeks. I kept coming back every week.
No, and it's great having you, because I think everybody who comes along brings value, and you definitely, you've got a good humoured way of engaging people in conversation. Plus, you pick up all the litter all around the countryside. I've never seen anybody pick up so much of everybody else's litter while we're walking around the country. But you know what? You've got me doing it now. I can't walk past a crisp bag or an empty water bottle now because
I refuse to pick up other people's dog poo bags, but it's plastic bottles. And absolutely, it just annoys me.
There's a limit for everybody. So moving swiftly on, because I know, James, you've only got to 9 o'clock and I want to be finished well beforehand. What are you planning for 2021? And most important of all, why does it matter? Why does it matter to anybody except for you? James, what are you planning for 2021?
It's a very interesting question, Martin, because this was going to happen irrespective of COVID or not, but it's actually taking my own courses and doing something different with them. So I used to be very, very one-to-one in terms of my coaching. But then as you scale, and especially, I suppose, whenever you're doing it online, one thing about being online, it's just as tiring, if not as more tiring than face-to-face. So what I need to do is to get my courses online and then to do more group coaching. So that's really what I'm doing, is scaling my business to cope with more people, and also to spend less hours myself, because you just can't do it as much online. So that's really what I'm concentrating on, is to build the online functionality a bit more.
You're absolutely right, James. There's something about, they call it Zoom fatigue. Is that the technical term for it? There's something about, if you're doing it all day, it's okay for, good fun, doing it with your friends, low expectation type conversations. But if you're training, teaching, coaching, mentoring, advising, those calls get very tiring very quickly because you're trying to communicate with a limited set of resources. You know, if you're sitting with somebody.
But also, sorry, Martin, it's whether your focus goes, you're focused in that one spot for X amount of hours. If you're at a coffee shop, you can look around you, you can stretch, you can do whatever you need, and there is no loss of focus because your whole attention is with the person. Whereas we're focused on something very, very different at the moment. And I find it after 1 hour of coaching with a group or with a one-to-one, I'm drained.
Yeah.
So the focus is to try and get more bang for my buck in terms of that in 2021.
Very good. Very good. Jonathan, what are you planning for 2021 and why does it matter?
I think for me, it's building on the almost being forced back into networking again last year, and building on that and building some of the relationships that I sort of have started with last year, and hoping that I can grow them and see where that can take me and take the business as far as networking further afield. Most of my business is done through word of mouth, and I don't really want to change that much. I think it's massively important in what we do because you've got to trust people, and so if I can develop some of those relationships that bit more, a bit like we had a quick conversation about it earlier on, Martin, I think it's massively important. And that's a big thing for me in 2021 is to try and see how I can do that, especially given that at the minute we can't meet face to face. We can't, I'm talking now at the minute with my hands and nobody can see me talking with my hands.
Exactly.
It's so frustrating, because that's a big probably where James is coming from. That's tiring. That in itself is tiring. So it's learning how to do all these things and get past all that. And that's the challenge for 2021. So
sorry, John, you've hit it on a great point. They say that something like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, 70% of communication is the body language and what you get of someone. We don't get that through this, because you're only seeing this part here. And goodness knows what other signals people could be giving off. So actually trying to read a conversation, I find is more difficult now.
Yeah, absolutely, James. Jonathan, one of the things I've noticed coming through, and it's of a very high quality, and I'm saying that, I don't say that lightly, given the work that James produces and the stuff that Guy has done. Kel, not so much, but but I've noticed your social media on Facebook, the posts that are going up are really high quality, really informative. They're noteworthy. Where's that coming from, or how's that happening? Are you using a third-party resource, or how are you getting that stuff?
Some of it's third-party resource, and that's from the company that we work with, St. James's Place. Some of it is through Oren, who Kel has met. Last year, whenever we kind of got the opportunity to do more social media than what we had previously, I'm not very good at it. I'm poor at it, and I haven't got much better. But Oren has embraced that for me and really pushed it forward. And he's produced some of the content himself. And we're still working on it. We're still looking for new ideas. The thing I find most challenging, and I think Oren finds most challenging, is LinkedIn, and actually trying to get LinkedIn to be more conversational and get people to, we've got loads of followers now, but it doesn't mean anything because nobody seems to comment or whatever. They might read it, but there's not a lot of interaction. And that's one thing that we would love to really, I think that's important. So,
Kel, I'm going to ask you the same question. What are you planning for 2021 and why does it matter? But before I do that, Kel, just out of a matter of interest, how did you come across Jonathan's business? How did that happen?
It was actually one of Oren's posts. So Oren posted in Bismarang, I think it was, possibly Bismarang. And it's something I wanted to do, but I only had, because I'm getting married in June, hopefully, touch wood, if COVID pisses off. So I didn't have much to invest, and I just asked him a couple of questions on Facebook, and then he got me onto a call and was able to explain stuff better there, so it's something that I don't personally have a lot of knowledge in or information in, but the way that he kind of explained it, broke it down, and made it simple terms, someone that doesn't understand it, he was able to explain everything to me and let me know the risks involved, let me know the benefits and everything like that. So we're starting small, but the aim is to, after I get married, put more and more into it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, before we came on the conversation tonight, I didn't know, Kel, that you were working with Jonathan. Jonathan, you didn't know Kel personally. You probably knew he was on your client list. But we're actually seeing the reality of how good social media connected to good networking. So it was a social media post put onto the Bizmarang site that resulted in real business between real business people. This stuff works. And James,
it would have been in the Facebook page, in the Facebook group, probably.
Yeah. And the thing is, James, you always say this about, and this is one of the things that I learned from you, that what social media does is it doesn't sell by itself. Well, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does for some instances. But in my experience, James, in your experience, social media gives you an excuse to have a conversation. It gives you an excuse to open that conversation. And it's that opportunity for conversation that then leads on to business very often.
And it is, Martin, more prevalent now from 2020 onward, because that's how people has had to move forward with networking as well, by using groups like Bizmarang or by going onto LinkedIn. Now, the one thing I would say, even for Jonathan's point there, and it's something I've learned massively in 2020 regarding LinkedIn, is don't be passive on the platform. You need to be incredibly active. And what does that mean? If anybody views your profile, if anybody likes, if anybody comments, irrespective of how few, that may earn you the right to go and have a conversation with them, because they've shown interest and they've shown intrigue. And it's up to you to go and make that move. And I tell you what happened to me, and this has transformed my own coaching business. I've built a business out of LinkedIn completely. And what's transformed it is, rather than putting a post out and go, please, 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 may people contact me, it's completely the other way around. Whenever that's the bait, whenever somebody snags that bait, then I'm straight away going, hey, how you doing? Thanks for liking that post. How you doing, or how you coping with COVID or whatever. Then that's what I have completely changed my view.
How much pushback have you had for that? Because what I'm finding with LinkedIn is that people who are coming back like that are beginning to be seen a bit like trollers, a bit to what you were saying with the I hooked them and I got them in. I find, actually, I don't take this the wrong way, when somebody gets to me like that on LinkedIn. So, for example, if I accept I have, I think, probably 1,000 connections now on LinkedIn. And bear in mind, I'm quite careful about who I accept. But if I accept one and then I then get an automated email or an email saying, oh, thanks very much, just want to tell you about my software, it's bye-bye.
Because they're doing it completely wrong, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you'll get is, hey, how you doing? And then the sales pitch. Now, I'm quite lucky where my niche is.
Yes.
I know exactly what the students are going through. I know exactly how to go and build a career, and I can have a proper, natural conversation that lasts 3 and 4 and 5 messages, 6 messages, and they'll say something, and I go, well, hold on, what about this? What about hopping on a Zoom call? And that changes everything.
I can't believe this conversation, because it is absolutely fantastic for both sides of my business. Okay, so on the Bizmarang side, I really like what Jonathan was saying about, what social media is doing is you want to, or maybe it was Kel, sorry, saying you can have that initial hello, touching base, etc., but actually you need to move your conversation into something more closer and personal, etc. And that is exactly what Bizmarang networking does. That's kind of what we for 18 months ago, and the rest, and thank God, actually, because we did the design think process on it, we sort of had a rough idea where this was going, and actually, luckily, it's kind of sort of proving.
And the thing is, it's a very valuable thing to be able to. It's brilliant to see James and Guy, you sharing your experience of how this whole thing has worked. But it's a massive conversation. And the thing is, and I'm sure I'm not speaking out of turn here when I say anybody that might watch this video back, not live, but they're seeing it later on. James and Guy are 2 of the most open people I've ever met. And if you want to reach out to them, type them into Google, you're going to find these guys and reach out to them, and they will take the time to have the conversation about LinkedIn, Absolutely. The appropriate ways of following up on conversations. Because you're right, Guy, there is an appropriate way to do it, but the way James does it is the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that just quickly on the second point. The second point is the other side of my business is I'm a marketing strategist, particularly for small businesses, and I too run courses, and very similar to James, my courses are doing a lot of my recurring revenue personally is coming from the courses that we're building and running in the mastermind classes, etc. But the point that I really like what James was saying is that, and you said it again, James, is this niche down. One of the things that I have to get across, particularly to small businesses, is don't be afraid to niche down. And you have to get very, very clear on your customer segments, the customer personas that go with them. That's not necessarily individual people. That is a persona that you have written out of your head based on the experience, and niche down and go for it. And it doesn't matter whether you are doing business to consumer or business to business. If you're doing business to business sales, you've got to remember that companies don't buy things. People buy things on behalf of companies, and it comes back to dealing with that human interaction.
Okay. And the thing is, it's good stuff. I don't want to cut across you, but I'm going to cautious
no,
of time. I know James has to go away
sorry.
somewhere. I want to finish Kel's opportunity. James.
All right,
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, absolutely. One quick tip on LinkedIn. If anybody's on this, LinkedIn voice message, nobody uses it. So go and use it.
Brilliant tip. Kel, what's your thoughts? Planning for 2021, why does it matter? And let's keep to the 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll try. Yeah, so as I said, our business have grown like tenfold over the last year. So I've kind of was looking to build a team. And,
Tenfold?
Yeah, it just keeps growing and growing. Like it's
wow.
mental. Not what I didn't say wow when I seen the amount of tax I had to pay this year. So that wasn't that was an unwow. So we're
You
trying
need
to
a
build
good accountant.
I know.
I bet you don't know one.
EMT.
I need to money launder is what I need to do.
No. There's better ways than that, Kel.
Here, what you need is a wealth management planner. But I see you've already got one.
Yeah, so that's that was one of the main reasons I had to go to Oran. But no, and so the 2021, the main aim was to build a team around us. So I'm working together with Louis, who's a videographer. We're like one of the best ones I've worked with. His work's amazing. We've worked with a local coffee brand, and some of the videos he's produced is like next to none. It was like Hollywood production for somebody in the Moy, you know. It was amazing. And then we worked with Andrew, who's our website developer. So together I cover social ad spend, Andrew does the website, and Louis does the videography. So we're trying to work together, combine all those assets just so we can kind of become almost like a one-stop shop, so that we can help everyone. And we're all in sync too. So that's like one thing I found. We're working with other people, some people can be very hard to work with. So it's always hard to find someone good to work with. So I'm very, very excited to start working or continue to work with them and get more projects in on board.
That's really exciting and really positive. Great to hear you doing so well, Kel.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes you get this impression that nice guys come last. And you're one of the nicest guys I know, and to hear that you're doing so well is incredible. It just shows that you don't have to be one of these hard-nosed prats to do well in business. All the people on here tonight are nice people, and we're all doing something. Guy, what do you plan for 2021, and why does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of outlined it already, and I'm sorry I've taken so much time. Yeah, look, we want to move Bismarang on to the next stage. It's getting there. We have we're pivoting slightly in that we have people who have major Facebook groups across the UK who are monetizing through Bismarang by creating their paid groups on that. So we have things like groups like the Build Your Business group across the UK, 22,000 startups, or people who want to do a startup, they're doing their mastermind group on Bismarang. We have 30,000 London musicians who are doing their mastermind group with us as well, etc. So that's that side. We're beginning to trundle quite nicely down that one, and a lot of people getting a lot of benefit of the networking. And then on the other side, for me, I'm a bit very like James, that I have a longer term plan. I'm heading rapidly towards my mid-50s, and I too would like to be running my courses remotely. James might want to do for his from the top of a hill in South America. I'd like to do mine from the middle of the Pacific somewhere on a boat. So so that's kind of my exit plan is the next 5 or 6 years to be at a point like that.
I love your sailing stories and your dream, your raison d'etre, really the why are you doing it, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. To be honest, maybe a couple of hours on a sailing boat would do me. I might have enough, but the way you paint that dream and how you're going to achieve it and what you're going to do when you get there, it's always good to have a goal. I suppose if I was being asked the same question, what are you planning for 2021? Why does it matter? One of the things we learned this year, we took on a fantastic intern. We didn't know at the time, we weren't looking for an intern, but this guy came into our interview, a guy called Matthew Rutherford Jones. He had been a musician, very talented musician for the last 10 years, but settling down now, recently married, probably going to have a family like most of us want to have. And he was looking for something maybe a little bit more settled and steady. And so he came and worked with us for the last 3 months, entirely online, even though he's just based in Belfast. As a matter of fact, he could walk from his house to our office in Belfast, but we haven't been in the office. So we worked entirely online, and it has worked fantastically well. He's been a huge resource to practice. We had a lot of learning from that, because before him, we never intended to take anybody into the business. But it looks like now 2021 could be the year that we look at how do we expand Gilchrist & Co, taking on people in much the same way that Matthew worked with us. So it's been awful. I appreciate, as you say, Guy, people have got sick, people have lost their lives. There's a whole lot of families and businesses have been completely devastated by this, and we can't lose sight of that. But if you're trying to take the good from it, it has forced us all to relook at where we are and what we do and how we're doing it. And I think we're all, if we survive, going to come out of it more efficient than what we were going forward. So thanks, guys, for your answers now. Now, here's an interesting thing. Rather than me asking the questions, what question do you have for one or all of the attendees tonight? Kel.
I suppose this one's probably for Guy. Like, what was the main thing you've learned from like growing your own Facebook group? And you've done it multiple times, so you're clearly.
I have to hold my hands up and say I haven't grown a Facebook group that well so quickly. I was lucky enough to semi-inherit, along with the co-founder of Bizmorang, had started a Facebook group, a private Facebook group called Bizmorang. That was the first thing. But what I have learned is we refused to let ours run out of control with a huge membership. When I say huge membership, I mean 5,000 plus, because what actually happens is you get, for each individual member, they get lots of benefit very, very early. Well, so they get lots of good feedback, because they'll put a question out there into a group that has 20,000 members, and they'll get 150 responses. And they go, "Oh my word, geez, I never knew there was so much support and help out there." But actually, that then creates another bigger problem of how do you sift your way through it? Which bits of it do you trust, etc. And so, yes, there are other Facebook groups in Northern Ireland that deal with Northern Ireland business. Funny enough, it might be one in particular called Northern Ireland Business, which is fantastic, and it's it is rapidly expanding, and we use it as well. We use it for promoting our stuff, etc., and it's great. But actually, this is why those people with very large Facebook groups are beginning to understand the amount of work. I'll just give you a very good example. I was a moderator of the Build Your Business Facebook group for 24 hours over the weekend, because I needed to upload some stuff to them, etc. I had 272 emails between 10 o'clock on Saturday morning and 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, of which 220 were requests to join the group and 52 were about posts being approved. So as a moderator for a group that size, that is just a huge amount of work. And so before you think you want to go and grow a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or whatever it may be, an audience of that size, you just need to understand that it comes with responsibility, because otherwise the quality of the group drops to the floor. That's what
James, question?
I've actually got a question for Jonathan. And I suppose given the pandemic that we're going through, now this is very natural to me, given I'm an accountant, I automatically pay myself first, that concept.
Yeah.
But would you have any tips for anyone there in terms of trying to start to save?
I think that the first thing to do is to make sure that money's not frittering away to debt where it shouldn't be. So, if there's if you've got credit card debt or whatever else, try and get it paid off as quick as possible. Something that I picked up on the radio, which I thought was absolutely fantastic for people that are struggling from a debt perspective, first of all, before you move on to any savings or anything like that, was a lady who was really, really struggling. And what she decided to do was have a really lean month, and then a normal month, and then a really lean month, and then a normal month. So in the lean months, all it was spent was on essentials. There was no other money spent for anything else. Any money that was left over went against the debt. Once that was done, she was able to then save that bit more. First thing is, get an emergency fund. Make sure you've got at least 3 months worth of expenditure set aside. And after that, then you can look at other things, and you can be confident and feel confident that, yes, I can put away some money either for the medium term, or maybe it's only for, maybe I'm saving money for a holiday in 2 years' time, or I want to build a nest egg for the future, so I'll save for the longer term. But you need to have some money behind you before you can do that. And I suppose the other thing, a big thing, maybe not so much at the minute, because obviously businesses are struggling, but as businesses come back again and hopefully wage rises and things like that start, the key is not to let your lifestyle completely match your income, because it will always continue to rise to match your income. So you've got to put a wage in between it. That's if you can put that wage in between what you're earning and what your lifestyle is, it will help you become financially independent over your working life.
Brilliant tip. Brilliant tip. Guy, any questions?
Just a quick one for you, Martin. Yeah, for you, you just mentioned that you're now have with your experience with Matthew, your intern. You've taken on that. In fact, actually, suddenly you've changed the horizons of your business. How come it's taken you 15 years to decide that you wanted to be Patch?
When we set up the business 15 years ago, we had a very clear mindset of what it was going to be. This idea of a cottage industry for a modern age, i.e. a family working together, living together, a small community around us, the business community that we would grow with Gilchrist & Co, doing enough work to sustain our needs, but not having the pressures and the hassles of what goes with a growth business. And also, that wasn't the case that the technology had been tested in such a way to be able to work with people remotely. And we always had in the back of our minds that we could grow using technology and using remote resources or virtual bookkeepers and all this type of stuff. But we never really had to, until the opportunity came up to use. And to be fair, it was virtually a costless opportunity. Yes, there was a bit of time involved in it. Yes, we had to work out how to use the resources. But the live video conferencing, the sharing of information, the use of snap scanners and being able to upload them very quickly using super fast broadband and stuff, that was a game changer. And this is the first time we actually got to change it. So I think having the opportunity to see what it was actually like, and that it wasn't as hard and as scary as we thought it might be, then, as you say, took the blinkers off a wee bit, and we actually seen this opportunity that wasn't there before. And then there's also the, it's not just going to be the case of getting people to do work for us, also using third parties to provide those services that we don't provide, but being able to maintain good links of communication. So, we have benefited hugely from Bizmarang. There's the number of contacts and clients and resources and support and help we've got through our Bizmarang has been fantastic. And things like being able to stay connected to James and Kel and Jonathan, even though we don't see each other face to face, James, but we still know what we're doing. I still know what you are, and I still know what you're doing. I can keep, and Kel, the same with you. If we didn't have these resources now, there would be there'd be much more restrictive thing outside Gilchrist & Co. So great question, Guy. An opportunity arose that we weren't expecting, weren't looking for it, and it gave us an opportunity to see what it's actually like to do these things virtually, and it worked really, really well.
Landed on your lap and you grabbed it with both hands.
Exactly. You have to take luck where it comes, that sort of thing, or take opportunities where they come. Jonathan, your question?
I'm just curious, and this is really to everybody. Do you set goals and do you write them down?
Now, I'm cautious of time here, so if we give very succinct answers, and we'll just run through everybody quickly. James?
Do I set goals? Yes. Do I write them down? Yes. Do I stick them, go for them? No.
Guy?
Yes, I do. We've just had a theme for the month of for the month of January in Bismarang was your 2021. I can't remember. Anyway, one of the big things that we pushed, we had a big lunch and learn on Saturday with goal mapping. We had nearly 50 people in attendance on it, and it was well worth a watch. Watch the video on Facebook coming up in the Facebook group.
And is that open to the public, or is that?
Yeah. If you remember the Facebook group, which is open, just apply for membership. And you're in. And we actually originally last summer were working with a guy who invented goal mapping, Brian Main, but we had the local Irish rep, Edmund Carroll, on Saturday. He was excellent. Well worth watching.
Kel?
So as I said, I'm always trying to work on my mindset. So I was doing a mindset course there, and they talk about affirmation. So long term, short term, medium term. So I try and write that down in a book, and I look back and then after a month see what I've achieved. So it seems to work for me, and I've noticed a change in the business and stuff as well. So I definitely recommend doing it.
Yes, Jonathan, we absolutely do at Gilchrist & Co set goals. So as I sit behind my laptop, we're sitting now, I have a monthly budget target, so variance targets, so monthly budgets. I then have annual billing, profit and loss, where we compare one year to the next, so I can see the annual target. I have overall capital, so how much are we worth right now? I can see that figure, and there's a growth target there in relation to our wealth. And then there's the monthly billing targets that we have to hit every month, and how close or how far away we are from that. And then that links into client acquisition and the flow of work through the practice. I have my goals set by the day. I know how much, who has to be in, how much we have to bill, what the credit registers like, how many days it takes the average client to pay. And we look at those goals every single day. And it's the most important thing that we do.
What about your personal goals?
Good.
Now you've got them. I do. I don't have them written down. Like I want to be healthier. I want to lose a bit of weight, bring down my blood pressure, things like that. But I suppose in personal goals, they're wrapped around that whole image of cottage industry for a modern age. It's really about, am I content in my work and family life? Am I surrounded by good people that make me a better person? Am I stretching myself enough without stretching myself too far? But they're not written down. They're not something I've it's not like accountancy, and maybe it's a very good point. Maybe it's something I should do. I'll have to go in and think about that actually. So,
going away. It's nearly 9 o'clock.
I know. So 9 o'clock, we're finishing up now. James is somewhere we've got to do. Thank you very much, James, for allowing us to use the resource of your Zoom thing. Finally, before we go on, this is the very last question. Where can we join you online? Now, that's not just where can we find you, but what are you doing that we can join you on, take part in what you're doing, supporting what it is, what you are. James.
LinkedIn's the primary function. I just don't talk about accountancy. I'll throw in random thoughts, ideas, lifestyle, where I'm going, travel, all sorts of stuff. So check me out on LinkedIn.
Guy?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, but I really suggest that you come to our Tuesday networking Bismarang meetings every Tuesday morning, 9:30. I have actually put the link in the chat box here, but I'm sure you'll share it in one of the comments with the video. Well worth it.
Yeah, I can second
free and
that.
open to all, by the way.
And Kel, where do we find you? And what are you doing that you want us to join you on?
Yeah, so I always like to help people. So one of the things we're launching now, I can have time to launch now that we're working within the group, is we're going to do like a free masterclass. So we're working on at the moment. So I'm going to talk everything social, Andrew everything web, SEO. Louis going to tell people how to do video, set up everything. So we're planning to launch that. So watch this space, and then follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and if you want to see me stream and play games, you can also follow Giraffe Gaming, but it's a bit more non-PC.
The language might be a little bit more fruity.
What a millennial.
And Jonathan, finally, where do we find you? How do we connect with you? What do you want us to do with you?
You'll find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and also on LinkedIn. And if at all possible, any help on the LinkedIn side of things would be great, because we would love to get that working better. So that's really.
Well, guys, that means we've hit it near enough on 9 o'clock. James, sorry for keeping you a minute late. I suppose this is the end of the recording for this evening. Look forward to catching up with you all again and soon. Cheerio.
See you later.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Greg.
you. Bye bye.
Thank you.